Do you have a minute? Did you notice how I didn't say each of these words separately? Do you have a minute? I said it more like, do you have a minute? Do you have a minute? What was I doing there to say this phrase fluently? First of all, in do you have a minute? Do you have a minute? We stress on the word have. If I'm saying it slowly and clearly, do you have a minute? You'll hear that length on the have vowel. But because we're stressing here, we're rising up because this is a question. We're rising up in these as well. Do you have a minute? A minute? That's my intonation pattern. This do you can get really reduced and linked. It's the unimportant part of the phrase. It's understood when we hear that patterning and that stress. And so there's a couple of different layers of reduction we can do here. One is, do you have a minute? Do you have a minute? Where I'm going to lose this clear ooh, and it's going to basically be gone, or it's going to be a little bit of a schwa. I think we typically link it to the ya sound. Do you have a minute? Do you have a minute? So we end up with kind of a d, ya sound. And then notice, do you have a minute? We can do it with that oo sound, but this often also gets reduced from an oo to another schwa. So we end up with schwa or nothing here, and here we end up with the sound. Do you have a minute? So I'll write that like this. Do you have a minute? So then in that case, my have stays clear. It's just my do and you that get reduced. Do you have a minute? Do you have a minute? Do you have a minute? You heard me actually, as I was trying to model that, go to the next step, which is often the dia and have will link together and we'll lose our H sound of have. Do you have a minute? And so then my ya and vowels come together a little bit and I get kind of like do you have a minute? So instead of do you have, I have jav. So I'll just go right to this vowel like cat and my v sound. Do you have a minute? Do you have a minute? So even if you see it written like this and you're hearing me saying that, you might be saying to yourself, oh, I'm not going to do that. That sounds sloppy. That doesn't sound correct. When we see it written, we're often biased to think, no, it's incorrect grammar. I can't use that. But the first time I said this, I used a reduced sound and you were seeing the full words and you probably didn't notice, oh, she sounded wrong or she sounded incorrect. If you're not sure about that, go back to the beginning of the video, check that out, listen, see if you can hear that I'm actually doing the reduction. And when you haven't seen it written out, it sounds perfectly natural and correct and professional to you. Okay, so do you have a minute? Do you have a minute? The of the word does sound like and then minute is, do you have a minute, is going to be clear. We're not going to really change or reduce that. So I can use this patterning, do you have a minute? Do you have a minute? With other phrases and other words in my phrase as well. One more reduction that you might hear that often happens with when we have the d and y sounds together, that's the d and y, is that that's very similar to our j sound, which we write usually as J or G at the start of words. So dia is a d and a gliding ya. J is the affricate, kind of combines those two, and it sounds more pushed out. And so I think many people go with j rather than dia, just because this is a more detailed, finessed pronunciation, and that's kind of where this gravitates to. So you hear this also in phrases like what are you becoming, whatcha, that ch or j affricate, like got you becomes gotcha. So that's the T and CH is the voiceless version. So at any rate, I think using a j here can also be helpful. And then we have the j sound with the sound, java minute. So that if I write it like that, it's going to look like Java. We don't want to change that vowel for, even though we might like to have coffee, Java. So Java minute. So you can think about it maybe like Java. Java minute, Java friend, Java ride, Java bag. Yeah, so those are some ways that you might hear that pronounced. So as I was modeling, using this or this as something that you can repeat and practice to get that to sound fluent and natural is a great idea. So let's do a few. We also can have it without the part, and that would just be like jav blank or jav. Okay, so let's try a few. First of all, with Java, Java minute, that's our first model. Java place in mind, Java ride, Java bag. We can also do that with other verbs. So do you need can become janid. Do you want to go? Do you need a ride? So the do you can practice that part without the have, with the have, and with have a. Let's try some with just jav or Jew or jav. For example, jav it, jav the computer, jav the phone, jav the bags, jav the keys, jav the time. Let's try with Anne, jav an idea, jav an interest, jav a place in mind, etc. Okay, so this is something where when we break it down, when you see it written this way, it seems so very different from the written words. When you hear it and you just naturally work through the progression of these slow linking reductions, you might find it easier to use. I will be creating a practice podcast for these phrases where you can mix and match, get some practice using them fluently. So check that out on the channel here on our podcast playlist. And I hope this helped you to break down this particular phrase and think about how you can apply it in other cases as well to sound fluent and natural when speaking English. Thanks for practicing with me today, and I look forward to seeing you in our next class. If you liked this type of practice, you'll like our podcast advanced practice as well as our Real Talk course on speechmodification.com, where we break down everyday phrases and help you say them fluently and naturally with reductions and linking. Check it out. That's our Real Talk advanced course on speechmodification.com. Thanks again for being here today, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com. Remember, if you want to sound like a native speaker, you can do it. speechmodification.com. Bye, everyone. Hope to see you again soon.